Have you ever dreamed of having a flower garden, a garden of tulips and other flowering bulbs? Well, dream no more. I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide on how to make a flower garden in a pot. This project is good especially for those people who doesn't have the luxury of a garden. You will need compost, fertilizer, some flowering bulbs, variety of daffodils, wild tulips, and tulips. I'm using a deep pot with plenty of holes because it's important that you have a proper drainage when you're planting bulbs. Aside from plenty of holes, you also have to create a layer at the bottom of the pot in addition for your drainage system. As you can see, I'm using styrofoam because I like to move the pots around and it will be easier for me to carry it. You can also use rocks and broken pieces of pots, but it will add up to the weight of your plant. The bulbs like it dry, and as you can see, the roots cling around the styrofoam, which also acts like a filler. The next step is to use a compost. It is important to use a compost because it's a loose soil. It doesn't retain as much water and it's easier for the bulb to navigate its way up. And before we go to the next step, here's a guide on how to properly distribute the bulbs. Remember that the bigger the bulb, the bigger the flowers and the longer the stalk, so it should be placed at the bottom of the pot. Step 3, we start with the daffodils, the biggest bulb. After putting the first layer of the bulbs, you can cover it with 2 inches of compost and prepare for the next layer. For the second layer, I'm using a variety of colorful tulips. Another important thing to remember is to plant the bulb with the roots in the bottom and the pointed part on top. You can position the bulbs a few inches from each other, side by side or on top of each other. It all depends on how you want the flowers to grow together. Next, cover it again with 2 inches of compost. For the third layer, I'm using all the small bulbs. And since there are plenty of small bulbs, you can arrange them alternately or create your own pattern. The rule of thumb is the more bulbs you use, the deeper container and the wider the diameter should be. And now for the last step, you can fill up the pot with compost and spread a cup of fertilizer on top of it. This next step is optional because since you have to wait 4 to 5 months before you can enjoy your garden in a pot, during the winter months you will be staring at a bare pot. So I decided to plant some seasonal flowerets on top of it, which I'm going to remove once the sprout starts to come out. With or without the flowerets on top, You have to water the pots once a week, and it should be placed under a shady area. In total, I planted 10 bulbs of daffodils, 50 bulbs of tulip variety, and 55 small bulbs. The bulbs were evenly distributed in 3 pots, where 1 pot is exclusively for tulip variety only. Two months later, I spotted some sprouts. On the 3rd month, I have to remove the florets so the bulbs can grow properly. As you can see, there's plenty of sprouts already. And the florets, or the seasonal flowers, I planted them in the flower bed in the garden. Since it was a very warm winter, the flowers starts to bloom before it reaches the 5th month. For a week now, I'm enjoying this flower garden very much. Look how colorful and beautiful this is. You can also do yours. Just follow the steps and create your own flower garden in a pot. Thank you for watching, and watch out for my next video. Bye!